What's up, everybody? It's your boy Big O back in the building with yet another brand new video. I just want to take a second to say thank you to everyone who is tuning in. I hope all of you are having a glorious day. And today I got a little package from Amazon. I bought some UVB bulbs for the animals. So I figured I'd take this opportunity while I'm getting these bulbs out of this box to talk about lighting a little bit and just kind of show what it is that I'm using right now and talk about some plans that I have for sort of changing what kind of bulbs I use and how I provide the UV. But this is what I'm using right now, kind of what I've been using for the last few years, and that is the compact the compact fluorescent light bulbs from Zoomed. Got 6 of them. And it's about that time of year where I switch all of the UV bulbs out of all the tanks. It's recommended that you switch them out every 10 to 12 months. Wow, my voice sounds horrible right now. It's because the UV sort of dissipates after that amount of time, and it no longer provides any UV after that, and it just becomes a regular light bulb. So you definitely want to make sure you're switching out your UV bulbs. And if you're gonna go with compact fluorescents, I definitely recommend the Zoomed brand. Never really had any sorts of issues with them at all, ever. And I don't really recall anyone that I know of, or anything that I've read about that kind of stands out in my mind in regards to people having trouble with these. But yeah, they've been working out great for me. And these are just for the UV. What you want to do is, because they don't produce enough heat to actually create any hot spot over their basking area. And in regards to the basking area, I've been using these also for quite some time, for years now. This is the 100 watt. I tend to use the 100 watt for my Matt only, because he's really the most avid basker. Every other species I keep is a species of musk turtle, and they don't generally bask as much as, say, a Matt or a slider or a diamondback or a cooter or what have you, more of a basking species. I mean, they do use them, but just not nearly enough. Not nearly as much as my Escambia map turtle right there. So for them, I usually keep like the 75 watts, and depending on how close the bulb is to the basking spot, because the way I have it set up, I can always adjust it by removing this section. I can put a little closer, and I can use a bulb that's just a little bit less wattage, if that's the only thing that I have on hand. And if I have a tank that's pretty big, maybe like this 75, it's a 4-foot tank. Also, this 55 is also a 4-foot tank. And let's say the room isn't that well lit, or it's just in a dark area of the house, and you want to add a little more light, but you don't want to obviously go with maybe another basking bulb or another UVB bulb. What I do is I just use regular household bulbs. I got this big pack from Home Depot. It's very low wattage. Only, what is this? It says it only uses 5.3 watts. And they're pretty bright, and they last a really long time. And if, like I said, if you are in an area of the house, or maybe your basement or something like that, or garage where you may keep your turtles at, you can definitely just get a sort of a normal dome fixture, which you can also get at Walmart. They're pretty cheap, and just use one of these and just brighten that sucker right up. But whatever it is that you're gonna do, because you do have other options. You have your mercury vapor bulbs and things like that, which provide heat and UVB simultaneously. Although those bulbs tend to be very high wattage and tend to be very expensive. We're talking, you know, upwards of $35, $40 per one bulb. Whereas, you know, everything that you see on this table probably cost me less than $75 altogether. And, you know, it does use less energy, especially if I'm using a basking bulb that's less than 100 watts. And then we have this right here that's only 13 watts. You know, we're talking about less than 100 watts just, you know, for both the UV and the basking. Whereas if you get a mercury vapor bulb, we're talking, you know, upwards of 125 watts just for one bulb. And the other side of the tank is going to be pretty dark. So you're going to have to add something else. And that's more watts. So, you know, but whatever floats your boat, whatever you decide to go with, just make sure you're always providing UVB. Make sure that the UVB is at an appropriate distance from the surface, because you definitely don't want that too close. And the same can be said for the basking area, because if you have a very hot basking bulb, like this 100-watt bulb can get very, very hot. It'll burn you if you touch it after it's been on for quite some time. If you put that too close to the basking area, they're not really going to want to sit up there for very long, and sort of their exterior will heat up before their interior, and you know, it'll mess with their digestion and can cause all kind of problems in the long run. So definitely just do your research and figure out how far away you need to suspend the basking bulb over your basking spot. Usually it's about 12 inches or so. Again, depends on the bulb, so make sure you do your research, make sure you're figuring out what you're using, and make sure you know how to use it before you know, potentially put your animals at risk. So, that being said, I'm going to bring this one to a close. Again, thanks for everybody tuning in. I appreciate the time, and until the next time, have a real talk keeper. Peace.